The list includes Ollie Alexander, Fuka Twigs. Is it Fuka Twigs? Is it FKA Twigs? I don't know how to pronounce her name.
I'm so sorry. I'm 5.
Hey!
Stop. Kevin, hi. How are you doing, you loud bitch?
I am my boy Mary. Nice to meet you all. Hey, remember last week when I said that I had a fever? Turns out it's COVID!
That's the part that you're going to get loud for. Yeah, Kevin, how are you feeling? You doing okay?
I'm actually feeling okay. I'm actually, really relatively asymptomatic. Really, all I have is I'm just dehydrated at this point. That's kind of like the only symptom I really have. And in case anybody is just listening to this podcast, just to clarify, we're not in the same room. This is a remote podcast.
Yes, we are very safely socially distanced by several states.
Yes.
So. But Kevin, I'm glad you're feeling well enough to join us today. How has your week been? Besides having COVID.
I mean, I pretty much had to stay in my room all week, so,
Yeah, your parents barricaded you away like Quasimodo.
Yeah.
Oh, poor baby.
Yep, I'm only allowed to come downstairs to eat.
Oh, tragic. Anyway, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you noticed my fancy little earrings that were actually made by your sister.
Yes, they were.
Check Ethereal Whimsy on Etsy.
I'm sorry, plug the name again.
Plug the Ethereal Whimsy on Etsy.com.
Yeah.
You can I think I bought the only pair of these, so you're out of luck on that. But there's a lot of other cool stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. You like those Halloween McDonald's buckets?
The McDonald's buckets, those were fun.
Yeah.
They don't make those anymore. You only get cardboard Happy Meals.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. Another thing that this generation won't ever understand. Oh, Kevin, we don't have a mug of the day, but we do have a fancy cup of the day.
Oh, a cup. Is that a cup or is it a glass?
It is it's a glass cup.
So
you and your semantics. Kevin, do you know who this is in my mug?
Is that...
Don't you dare say Bette Midler.
Ariana Grande.
Kevin, I'm going to break your legs. This is...
I know who that is. I know. It's Dorothy Gale, played by the late, great Judy Garland.
Absolutely. Who recently just celebrated her 100th birthday. Happy birthday,
really?
Judy.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Kevin, do you know that they had a very fancy birthday for Judy Garland's 100th birthday? Like, there was a launch for, a special fragrance for her birthday and everything. It was a big to-do, right?
Really? I didn't know this. Oh my God,
would you like to know more about it?
I would. You know what? Yes. Yes, I would.
You know what? I think I could bring somebody in who could tell you some more about it.
Could you?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Connor, are you saying that we have a guest?
With a wave of my magic wand, I bring forth good lady Tori. Are you with us?
I'm here. Hi, guys.
Here she
Hi.
is. Everybody, please welcome our special guest for the week, Tori of the Oz Vlog.
Hello.
Tori, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And yes, I was at Judy Garland's 100th birthday gala in Los Angeles this year.
You were there?
Phenomenal, by the way.
Oh my God.
I got to wear a gown and everything.
It was,
God,
that was
amazing.
like an A-list event. You saw it. Whew, that was really, and you still have your fancy 100th anniversary bottle. You don't seem like the type of person that throws stuff away.
I was very fortunate because they also invited my fiance. And so we got 2 gift bags. So I got to open one and keep one on the shelf.
That's the best part of collecting is when you get one to use, one to save. That's the best.
But because Judy Garland was such an LGBTQIA plus icon, the fragrance is actually unisex. So my fiance and I have both been wearing it.
That is delightful. Oh my gosh. Kevin, I don't know if you know this. Judy Garland is associated with the gay community. Have you ever heard friend of Dorothy before?
Yes, Connor. I'm aware with the phrase friend of Dorothy.
I just like treating you like you're stupider than you are. It's my MO.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Tori,
I'm aware.
If I ever say something horrific to Kevin, it's just it's all in good fun. I promise I'm not this mean to him in real life. At least off camera. Anyway,
Tori, you need help.
Tori, I invited you on because you actually hold a very prestigious title. You are my hyperfixation of the week. I was so excited to have you on the show because obviously The Wizard of Oz is your, like, as we have Oz historian, collective of what, 25 years?
25 years. That's
25.
correct.
Wow.
So you've
That's
got
a
a little bit of knowledge under your belt. So I was very excited to bring you on. We want to talk about all things Oz, and we'll get into that. But first, I do have to let Kevin do his segment. We have an arrangement. So I would like you to join along with us as we discover the news of the week.
Sounds
Yes, Tori. So on this podcast, I have a news segment regarding LGBT plus news. And it's called Sounds Gay, I'm In. Okay, so there's really not a lot that happened this week, but I'll go through the stories that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So first story is that Dove Cameron dedicates her VMA for Best New Artist to queer kids.
That is delightful. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yes,
so this was an award she received.
Yes, at the Video Music Awards.
Okay.
That was last week, literally right before we aired our last episode.
I will admit I don't really follow Dove Cameron. I know her explicitly as Mal in Descendants, and
She was my daughter's first choice to play Glinda in the Wicked musical, and she was very disappointed when she got beaten out for that role.
I totally get it, though. I mean, she was literally Kristen Chenoweth's daughter in Descendants, so it seemed like the perfect mix.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And she was Kristen Chenoweth's daughter in Hairspray Live.
Hairspray Live. Yeah, the connection's there. It's like all the signs pointed to it, but oh well.
Yeah. Kristen Chenoweth is somebody who nurtures young performers to the nth degree, and she has been a mentor for both Dove Cameron and Ariana Grande. So she was kind of the proud mama of whoever got the role.
Yeah,
Ariana was also in Hairspray Live.
She was?
She was Penny. She was Penny.
I will admit I didn't watch it because I'm not a huge fan of Hairspray, but okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's
right.
that. So
thank you, Dove.
Yeah, so anyway, she said, I want to dedicate this to all the queer kids out there who don't feel like they can take up space and inhabit the fullness of who they are.
Wow.
That is so sweet.
Yeah, all the queer kids out there who don't feel like they can take up space and feel who they are, thank you for getting an overtly queer song onto mainstream radio. WBK, that Dove can craft a bop, and we're glad to see her get some recognition.
That is like, I'm just thinking of like, if this were like not that long ago, maybe 10 years ago, a speech like that would probably generate like the end of her career.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just love how far we've come with stuff like that. That's really sweet. Okay. Thank you, Dove.
Yep. Thank you, Dove. All right. So our second news story also involves the VMAs. Billy Eichner sends a message to the Supreme Court during his speech to plug his upcoming film Bros at the VMAs.
I did see advertising for this. It looks pretty good. What was he's okay. I'm sorry. I should let you finish the sentence. That would be helpful, right?
So he states, we need to show all the homophobes like Clarence Thomas and all the homophobes on the Supreme Court that we want gay love stories and we support LGBTQ people and we are not letting them drag us back into the last century.
Wow.
That's tough words. I love that.
That's
the only way you can get away with. They're not going to listen to soft-spoken people anymore. We have to be loud.
Oh, yeah. And Billy Eichner, he is a very loud person.
Oh, my gosh.
It's really nice. A lot of people will say, just accept your award, thank your agent, and get off the stage. But if you have a platform, and I feel that goes for, for celebrities, for people, even in positions like mine, where you have any sort of platform to speak publicly, we need to be as outspoken as possible because we are the majority. It's a very small minority of people who feel the way that Clarence Thomas feels, and we can't let them run roughshod over the rest of us.
It's just so bizarre how this narrative has come to place that, like, oh, so many people are against, like, there's the silent majority that they love to claim themselves being. And I was just like, can you get me names? Like, can you actually, like, show me the data? Because I don't think you're creating, like, the right...
Just not true. It's just not true. If my Sicilian grandmother can accept the LGBTQIA plus community, everybody can.
That is so sweet. Oh,
yep.
My Sicilian.
Actually, Eichner wasn't accepting any kind of award or anything. He was actually made this announcement to plug his movie right before Panic at the Disco's performance at the VMAs.
All right,
Um,
but still, he recognizes his like position, and he's like, I have
Yeah.
to take the opportunity I have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he also states Bros is making history as the first gay rom-com ever made by a major studio and the first where every role is played by an openly LGBTQ actor.
this is a
That's so
necessary film.
awesome.
I'm gonna have to see it.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
Yeah, it is. It does seem like to be a very, monumental film. Although some people are criticizing him that like they think that like he's going a little bit overboard with this, like saying like almost acting like he invented gay people in film, which like I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, granted, this is obviously not the first gay rom-com period, but I do think it is the first one that's produced by a major studio. So it's going to be produced by Universal. So
What was that? There was one that came out on. It was a Hulu exclusive. I believe it was like Searchlight Pictures, something, because they're like major-ish. But I don't know about the entire cast. But I do know it took place on Fire Island, focusing on.
Oh, Fire Island.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I think I remember that. But I don't know if that's like.
No, it wasn't produced by a major studio.
It's
no,
not major. Okay.
No.
But still, all right. No, I don't agree with the idea that he invented gay people. Like that's a little like that's very narrow thinking.
It is.
So I'm not.
It is.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
All
but,
right. Well.
Yeah. And does it say when this? Oh yeah. And just so you know, Bros hits theaters September 30th.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
That's the same day Hocus Pocus 2 comes out. I won't be able to go.
But isn't Hocus
Sorry,
Pocus,
I have commitments.
Isn't Hocus Pocus 2 coming out on Disney Plus though?
Yes, but I have stuff to do. I have an actual job.
You have to understand, you got to leave time for repeat viewings.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Okay, but I'm just saying it's on Disney Plus, so you can watch it whenever.
Fine, I'll do my homework.
All right. Last story. There's only 3 this week. Last story is that the guest judges for RuPaul's Drag Race UK have been announced, which is going to premiere September 22nd. The list includes. So let's see. The list includes Ollie Alexander, Fuka Twigs. Is it Fuka Twigs? Is it FKA Twigs? I don't know how to pronounce her name.
I'm so sorry. I'm 5. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I don't think that's
Okay,
it.
but anybody who's listening knows who I'm talking about. So
okay, fair enough.
all right, Allison Hammond, Boy George,
Ooh,
Hannah Waddingham,
I knew it.
my favorite
Yes.
Wicked Witch. Oh my God, sorry.
Yes,
I'll
please.
digress.
Dame Joanna Lumley, and Mel B.
Wow. Oh
Okay,
my
well,
gosh.
first of all, we're showing our age by who got us really excited. Because we all got very verklempt at the idea of Joanna Lumley. Woo!
I know.
Yeah, can you tell the listeners who that is? Because I don't know.
She's an icon. She's been in everything. I feel like she's been in everything. She's very well-known British actress. And Hannah Waddingham, tying us back to Oz, played the Wicked Witch of the West in Andrew Lloyd Webber's production, which is terrible, but the witch's part was very well done, and she rocked that role.
Just
Red Shoes
like
Blues,
to like
baby.
the Red Shoes Blues. Oh, just for people that may not like be familiar with Joanna Lumley, she was Aunt Spiker in James and the Giant Peach.
Oh, okay.
Yes, very like she's a face that you can instantly recognize. Like
And a voice. She does a lot of voiceover work. If
A
you've seen
lot.
Corpse Bride, she was the mother of Victoria.
mhm.
And she's been in a lot of stuff. She tends to read very creepy, so she tends to be cast as the villainess, but she's fabulous. She's
Okay.
Absolutely fabulous. But that is, I am very excited. I thank you, Kevin. This really really brightened my entire day. Oh, I've got stuff to watch now.
And another quick point about Hannah Waddingham, she's currently the rumored front runner for the role of Madame Morrible in the upcoming Wicked movie.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, ooh. Okay, I'm very into that. I'm sure like you'll agree, the Wicked movie has been in like kind of a development hell since like what, 2007.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
rumors floating around, studios tossing the rights back and forth. So like ideas kept going through my head. And I remember there was an interview however many years ago, Kristen Chenoweth was on, I think on one of the Jimmys, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. And they're saying, are you going to be in this movie? And she's like, oh, I've aged out of the part, but I'd love to be Madame Morrible. and like she made it into a joke, but I was like, we could make this happen. We can do it. It's
I
possible.
think she or Adina could pull off. I don't think Adina would, but
Mm.
I think Kristen has certainly that. She has the capability to play evil when she wants to, but she also reads. She could do that subtle, like she's Madame Morrible is supposed to be charming, and the evil is supposed to be more subtle. So I feel like she could pull that off really beautifully. But I don't know. I hope they're in it somewhere. I hope they're in like the Emerald City in the background somewhere, hanging out of a window, like just a cameo, anything. Give us anything.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, watch! They're gonna be like stagehands in Wizomania or something.
Yeah.
I would go for it.
That was actually something that I saw on TikTok. Maybe your fans love to tag you in anything Oz related. I'm sure you get trillions of notifications, but somebody made an excellent point. So the Wicked movie is being divided into 2 films because the creators said
Is that true? Is it going to actually? I heard that there was some scuttlebutt about that. Like,
It is true. And the reason they decided to do that was that that was not the original plan. The reason they ended up going that direction was because when they were trying to make edits, because they have to add new songs in order to be considered for a best song Oscar. So they're adding new songs by Stephen Schwartz. He came back to compose more music. And I'm all for new Oz music by Stephen Schwartz.
Oh, yes.
But when they were trying to figure out what to cut, that was where they ran into issues. You can't cut. I've heard people say, "Oh, cut Dr. Dillamond. He's kind of important."
Yeah.
The whole crux of Elphaba's activism is spurred on by what happens to him, and without that catalyst, she really doesn't have as much of a motivation. So cutting that would have been detrimental. I think you could cut his song and get away with it, but not his part altogether.
Absolutely.
Wait, were they saying to cut his part altogether?
Was so when they were looking to
no, you can't do that.
I agree. And I think that a lot of people consider Dr. Dillamond a throwaway character, but that's only if you haven't read the book.
I haven't read the book, and even I think like, no, he's like he starts like, yeah, he's kind of like a catalyst, like what you said, he's a catalyst for her activism, and it's kind of leads to her being, so ostracized.
Agreed. And I really don't think you can cut his role and really maintain the meat of the story. And so when they were trying to make edits, they really couldn't find a place to cut things. And they decided, well, if we can't make cuts and put this into one movie, what we're going to do is we're going to add elements from Gregory Maguire's novel back in, and we're going to make it 2 movies. So what I'm hoping they're going to do is beef up Bach's role, because Bach was a much more prominent character in Gregory Maguire's novel and would add some subtlety to him that kind of lacks in the musical. He's kind of just a simpy guy who follows Glinda around drooling and ends up a hostage. There was a lot more to his character, and I hope they give him more space. And I've heard Ethan Slater is rumored for that role, and that would be amazing.
I think Kevin brought that up to me. I was very excited. Any news with this movie, I'm very excited for. So
I hope they add that. We're going to get new songs. I hope they go more into Fiero's character. If they give it, because, the musical is only, I believe, 2 hours and some odd minutes. It's not very long. It's 2 hours, 45 minutes, I think, with the intermission. So if you have 2 full-length feature films and you can get 4 hours of content in there, I hope they beef up everybody's storyline and really give everybody the time they need.
Oh, yes.
Here's what I thought. I thought that the reason why it was being split into 2 movies was because of how climactic the song Defying Gravity is.
That was like a thing that was being thrown around mostly by the fans, saying that like you can't follow that up like so quickly, like with the Broadway show. There's a break.
Could.
Oh yeah.
I think you absolutely could just transition like you would in any other movie musical if that was your intention. And I know they will end it on Defying Gravity. That will be the point where it fades to black and credits roll. But which is kind of disappointing because it kind of kills the suspense of when it's going to end. We all know when it's going to end. But I'm kind of, I know it's cliche now to do the 2 movies. Harry Potter did it, Twilight did it, and I felt like there was a while there where everybody did their movies in 2 parts.
The Hobbit stretched their movie out into like 3.
Oh, yeah. Oh, The Hobbit. Oh, don't get started.
My concern is if part 1's terrible, then what?
Ooh. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But
if part 1 doesn't make a profit, then what?
I feel like it's going to, because
it'll make a profit.
This movie seems very universally appealing because like Wicked wouldn't be running on Broadway for what, we're going on like 25 years. No, not 25.
Wow.
I'm terrible at math. I'm sorry. It opened in 2003, so we're going almost on 20.
Yeah.
So many people have seen it. So many people love the show. Like even people that aren't into Broadway love Wicked. So I feel like this movie, even with the cast, like there's something for everybody. So I feel like it's going to generate at least something. Maybe not movie of the year, but it'll make a profit. But what I was saying earlier was I found this person on TikTok who made the very excellent point. Since this movie is being split into 2 films, when the soundtrack releases, we're only getting half of the soundtrack in essence. So you're going to get Act 1 released 1 year and then Act 2 the second year.
I wonder if they'll just release the whole soundtrack at once or if they'll make us wait. That's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. Oh my gosh.
But we've got plenty of time we have so much time to speculate. It's coming out in what, December 25th, 2025.
On Christmas Day. Wow.
As an avid collector, I'm just so psyched for all of the merch that's going to come out for this movie.
Me too. Oh my goodness. I'm like, oh God. That's the worst part is like whenever I know that something's coming out that's going to have like a merch launch with it, it's like, do I need to start saving now or can I just like dive into it? You know?
Budget, collectors. Stick to your budget.
You make this point so many times on your TikTok. You dream on a budget because you are a mother.
I am.
And you're very smart about it. You actually helped me like talk myself out of a very risky purchase maybe a few months ago. So I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm a bargain hunter.
Goodness.
I got 2 very antique, very sought after pieces this week and I did not go over budget. So
okay. Have we already talked about them on the TikTok or is that going to be
yet?
Oh, you heard it here first.
You heard it here first. I got merch from the 1925 silent film and I'm super excited.
I didn't know there was merch for that. Oh
there
my God.
was not very much of it because it was such a flop, but and that's why it's so rare. But that's why I always say keep your eyes peeled and wait for the deals; they will come.
Oh my goodness! Okay, I'm excited. Anyway,
all right. I would like to wrap up my segment by saying that RuPaul's Drag Race UK season 4 will premiere on BBC 3. And Wow Presents Plus on September 22nd.
It feels like an eternity ago we were talking about that. I'm sorry I bogarted the end of your segment.
That's all right. You know what?
Goodness.
I want to talk about the Wicked movie anyway, so.
Okay, well, we managed to make it in there.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. So I suppose it's my turn. Tori, I've already explained. You hold the title of my hyperfixation of the week. I have been so excited to talk to you about this because obviously we are both big Oz fanatics. Where's Kevin? Over here. Kevin's very like an outlier in terms of like Oz films. His most obscure Oz property he's ever watched is Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return.
I haven't seen that one myself.
You haven't seen it?
Nope.
I thought you had. I'm sorry.
Nope. I just know about it. I know that Lea Michele is Dorothy in it.
That was something you wanted to like segue into was like the photo.
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know if you had seen this story. There was the funny girl on Broadway just tweeted out a whole bunch of photos like amping up the fact that Lea Michele is in the show. And the photos they chose for her, one of them, it's like her staring into a mirror, like staring at the camera, but the mirrors are all cracked and foggy, and it just looks like a trailer from like a horror film.
It does.
And it was just like, I know they were going for artsy, but it just came off so horrifying.
It did. It looks like Orphan 3 or something.
Is this a self-fulfilling prophecy about what Lea Michele's run on Broadway is going to be like?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. Maybe.
That was
also she responded to the rumor that she can't read.
I heard that.
Not by outright denying it, but she just said that she knew her lines and that the rumor was ridiculous. Like she knew that she said that I knew all of my lines on Glee. It's like you didn't answer the question, and you read.
There were some people who were on set of Glee that did come forward and say, yes, she can read. I've seen her read, but she only ever read things about herself. So.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Her co-stars, I've never had any sort of lengthy conversation with her. I've only ever met her in passing at stage doors, at which point she was quite rude and dismissive. But the people who worked around her, if they don't have a legitimate reason for a vendetta, I don't know. They are all nuts. Either they all have a legitimate reason for a vendetta because they all universally talk about what a jerk she is, or they're all in cahoots with each other to ruin her career for other unknown reasons. But she seems to be universally disliked by everybody who's ever worked with her.
My goodness. I didn't realize it went this deep. I thought it was just like the fans being like, oh, I heard some things. I didn't realize it went this far. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
they
I
are
kind of
not
had a
fans
feeling
for her.
it did.
Oh my gosh. That was actually, it was our very first episode of Fruity Cereal. Kevin and I
It
talking
was.
about the Funny Girl
We were
revival.
talking about that.
And
That is
I was
some kind of crazy, that whole situation.
Oh my goodness. We could still go on, but I brought you here to talk about Oz stuff. So the big point for me is Fruity Cereal's entire MO is not catering, but like representing the LGBTQIA plus community. And I could not think of a more appropriate topic than the discussion of Oz in all forms of media, books, films, TV, everything. Judy Garland herself, huge advocate of the gay community, legend, icon that she is. Tori, I actually have a little bit of a trivia question for you.
Go for it.
And I'm not testing you, I promise.
Okay.
In the 1939 film Wizard of Oz, how many times do you see a rainbow?
Well, you see one kind of implied in black and white, but you don't actually ever see one.
That one, it actually rocked my world maybe 2 weeks ago. I was like sitting here like staring at the floor. I was like, there's an entire song about rainbows and there's none in the movie.
Yeah, and that's on purpose because Dorothy is singing about a rainbow because the rainbow is the unattainable thing in her current life. The only thing of color that she will ever see in her gray, dreary farm life is a rainbow. And that was actually brought up by the songwriting team. And that's why that imagery for them was so important, because in the book, L. Frank Baum describes in detail this flat, gray, plain, ugly place that is her farm in Kansas. And they're like, okay, so what thing of color would she see then? Because L. Frank Baum describes how the house is gray, and even Auntie M, the rose has gone from her cheek, and she's gone gray from all the hard work. So what would she see in her life? And that is the rainbow.
That is, I'm learning stuff every minute I talk to you. Thank you so much. That was very sweet. But that was pertaining to, like, obviously, like the rainbow flag, obviously in its current form has evolved and adapted over the years. For some bizarre reason, maybe you could shed a little light on this. People are crediting the creation of the rainbow flag with the Wizard of Oz. Like, have you heard this?
I don't think that's a direct correlation.
It's definitely not.
I think Judy Garland being such a gay icon, anytime you talk about anything LGBTQIA plus, it will all that the friend of Dorothy trope always comes back around. And people ask me about it all the time. Why does that tie in? And there are so many reasons why. It's not one reason. There are so many reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
L. Frank Baum's novels, and for those of you who don't know, before the 1939 film, L. Frank Baum wrote 14 books about the Land of Oz. And the overarching theme of all of the books was inclusivity, acceptance of differences, learning to live together in a socialist utopia despite being wildly different from one another, working together as a collective. And in the Land of Oz, you are respected more the more different you are from the common person. So, you know, those themes tied in with, of course, there is a straight up trans character in the Oz books, although that terminology didn't exist yet. Yes. And then.
Wait, really? Wait, when was this character written?
Tori, take it away.
In the second novel, The Marvelous Land of Oz, which I believe was 1904.
Yes.
And of course, this was before the term trans existed, but there is a character that begins a boy and ends a girl. And that is because she was the daughter of the deposed king. The wizard kidnapped her when he fell into the Land of Oz and hid her away with a witch. The witch transformed her into a boy to keep her a secret so nobody would realize who she was. By the end of the book, she has come to the realization that she actually is the Princess Ozma, has been all along, has been living a lie as the boy Tip. And Glinda enables her to transform back to her true self, the self that she always was. So while, of course, there's no explicit trans dialogue in the book, the trans community has gravitated toward Ozma as an icon.
Oh my God.
For very good reason. This is
very good reason.
Because it's not done for like scandal or like shock, like, or anything. It is so respectful in the fact that like you've always been this way. Like when it felt wrong, you knew. And now everybody can see you as you are. And it was so...
Tip makes a point of saying, but will my friends see me differently? Will you not like me anymore if I decide to go back to being who I really am? And the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman reassure her and say, you are the same person. We will love you no matter what you are. And that support gives her the courage and strength to realize who she is.
Wow.
And for 1904.
1904.
Wow.
So L. Frank Baum, we actually owe a lot to. So we would like to
and not only that, but he was a fervent supporter of the suffragette movement. He had married Maud Gage, the daughter of Matilda Jocelyn Gage, who was a prominent suffragette. So he was a feminist and wrote all of the books from a feminist perspective. And almost all of the power players in Oz, be they good or evil, are women.
This country is like, with the outlier being the wizard, who is a usurper, like as we learn later in the series, it's all women. And they get stuff done. This country is thriving because of, like, obviously, like, I think Gregory Maguire did a good job, like, talking about, like, the political climate and, like, the power plays, like, you know, the free state of Munchkinland, who's seceding and all that. But just from, like, L. Frank Baum's, like, original thing, like, you have, like, you know, tiny, dainty China country. You've got the cardinal witches, like, good, evil, all that. But they're the power holders. And that is something you do not see. And if you do see it in like the early 1900s, it's kind of played for jokes. Be like, a woman as a leader, tee-hee, what a joke. And this one is done like, no, they're actually like very powerful characters. And they're like very pivotal points to the main players of the story.
In the second book, when this is before Tip realizes she's the Princess Ozma, this is when the Scarecrow is still on the throne, because at the end of the first book, when the wizard leaves, he leaves the Scarecrow in charge of the Emerald City.
Right. Yeah, I remember that being a thing in Return to Oz.
That's right. That's right. And when the wizard leaves, there becomes this power vacuum, and an army of women gets together. They're sick of the way the men are treating them. They get together and with just their knitting needles, take down the entire government, depose the Scarecrow, and force the men to do all of the women's work, take care of the children, clean the house. And at one point, when the Scarecrow and Tip return to the Emerald City to try to debunk these people, the men are like, you gotta get us out of this. These women are made of cast iron. That's one of my favorite lines. These women must be made of cast iron with all this work that they managed to do. How do they do it? The answer is yes, we are. Absolutely.
Like, I just like, you would read this in like you see like parody headlines in news of like the 1900s are like, what if the women wore the pants? The world would be topsy-turvy. This is like actually like portraying that like, don't disregard women. Like, don't treat them like they're subservient or like anything like this. They get work done. They do maybe not more work, but they do a ton of work that they are not getting credit for. And it's time to like change that narrative that women are like these weak, subservient Hausfrau type things. And L. Frank Baum, I think, did it so well. Like,
he did, and he juxtaposed capitalism versus socialism as well. When the wizard comes, he introduces money to the land of Oz, which before that did not exist. When he leaves, Ozma brings back the tradition of sharing what we have, and nobody has to pay for anything here, because if someone is in need, someone else will give it to them. And when, spoiler alert, guys, if you don't want to hear about later books, shut off now. When Auntie Em and Uncle Henry eventually move to Oz and are given a farm by Ozma to run in Munchkinland, they attempt to say, like, we don't know how we'll pay you. And the Tin Man goes, oh, money in the land of Oz? How dare you? Like, affronted at the thought. So
that's just what happens when you invite Americans into Oz.
Correct.
I mean, that's pretty much what happens when Americans try to tip in other countries. In like Europe, in Europe, they don't accept tips.
Because they actually make a salary.
Yeah.
That's, oh gosh. But that was an excellent way to like, I like as a kid, like watching The Wizard of Oz, like trying to absorb what I could about this like property. I kept telling myself, I want to live in Oz, but I don't know why. What sounds so appealing about it? Is it the magic? Is it the imagery? What is it? It's just like the people seem genuinely nice, with the exception of like, you know, the Wicked Witch, obviously. But I was just like, this seems like a much more pleasant place to live than the place where I'm going to inevitably have to grow up and like work a job for like 60 years and then like have to pay taxes into my retirement and then inevitably pass away. And I was just like, wow. And then growing up, I realized like, wow, I want a socialist utopia that the Land of Oz has conditioned me to want.
You know, I think the thing that keeps people coming back to Oz, especially people who feel marginalized or less accepted in their community, the story as the film depicts it is really about found family, is really about going out into the world, finding your people, traveling that road your own way with the people who make you feel validated, and at the end of the day becoming self-actualized. Self-actualization is the home. That's where we're all striving to be, and the only way to get there is with the people who make us feel self-actualized. So I think the thing that is so universally appealing about Oz is that idea of finding the people who make us who we are and allow us the freedom to be ourselves.
That's an excellent point, because like as many LGBT people sadly face the reality that sometimes their family will tell their biological family, the ones that they were born into, will tell them, if you don't meet the expectation of what we want you to be, we're not going to provide for you what you need, which is love, acceptance, and all of that. So then you have this community of people that are forced out into the world and have to find a found family. And once they find them, it is such a breath of fresh air, and it is that joy. So to find your quote unquote scarecrow, Tin Man, and wooden lion, oh my goodness,
Wooden lion,
a wooden lion.
I think you were going Tin Woodman, but then transitioned fast there.
I'm thinking a mile a minute, but to find those people is like such, like, even for people that aren't marginalized, to find somebody that makes you feel so comfortable and at home is a rare find, and everybody wants that. That's what everybody wants,
for sure,
no matter what. So
right, but Dorothy does go back to Kansas, though, at least in the film.
That is like a lot of people wonder why, like, what's so appealing about getting back home? Like, she described it as drab, gray, and dull. Like, why is it so important for Dorothy?
Yeah, and she wants to get back there immediately. As soon as she's there, she's like, okay, how do I get back home? How do I get out of here?
Panicking. She's
in the book. There are different motivations than in the film. In the film, Dorothy genuinely wants to get home because I think out of fear. By the end of the day, she realizes that the power has been inside her all along. And of course, that she can return this self-actualized version of herself, having defeated her wicked witch, having found her found family. She's going home whole. The fantasy is not, I heard this in an interview with the gentleman who directed The Wiz Live. The fantasy is not the girl going to the fantastical place. The fantasy is going home the same person you were when you arrived, because that does not happen. And Dorothy does not have that either. In the book, her motivations are slightly different. They're slightly more pragmatic. At that time, if somebody you loved died or, was presumed dead, you would have to go into mourning. And she mentions that to Glinda at the end of the book, that her family would never be able to afford to do that. And she needs to get back to them to help them save their farm.
So basically she wanted to go back home to just make sure her family knows that she's not dead.
In the book, she is their helper on the farm, and without her, their farm would cease to run and they would suffer. And she did not want that for them because she loves them. In the movie, and this is one of the only gripes that I have with the 1939 film, is that Dorothy is such a damsel in distress. If she was a farm kid, she would not have been like, "Oh, I fell in a pig pen." In the film, the motivations, because they changed her characterization a bit, had to be a bit different. And also, of course, in the movie, Oz is a dream, and in the book, Oz is a real place. So,
that is actually one thing I had to get your opinion. Are you a fan of Oz being a dream in the 39 film, or are you much more of a fan of it being this physical, real place that you can gain access to and from? Because I
love where the books went, and that they allowed Oz to be a real place. But in the film, if we're talking what's canon now, because of course Warner Brothers owns the rights to The Wizard of Oz, and as we know, the Oz is kind of a multiverse at this point. There's lots of stories about The Wizard of Oz. There are now 50 total canon books in the series written by various authors, so there's lots and lots of source material. And Warner Brothers kind of retconned the end of The Wizard of Oz because they made a sequel of sorts. I don't know if you guys have seen Tom and Jerry Back to Oz, but that
Oh my God, not that movie. The Tom
It
and
was
Jerry
so good.
the sequel is so good. I will hear
Oh.
nothing disparaging that movie.
Kevin,
Wait, there's a sequel to
There's a
Yes,
sequel called
Tom
Tom
and
and Jerry Back to Oz. It's an official sequel to the 1939 film because Warner Brothers made it. So technically it's canon. And they retcon the ending of the first film and make it not a dream. Now, the one thing that no movie that ever changes the ending ever explains is that somehow Dorothy wakes up in her house, which should be in Munchkinland. Explain it, Warner Brothers. Make it make sense. It doesn't.
See, here's my theory. I thought that Oz was a real place, but it's a place that you can only go to through dreams. Like, it's kind of like in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, how dreams are windows to alternate universes. So basically, Oz is an alternate universe that Dorothy was able to travel through her dreams, and therefore, when she woke up, she was able to return back to her own universe.
One could make that argument, and you could also make the argument that when she clicks her heels and says there's no place like home, that the actual physical home goes back with her, so that when they come out of the cellar, the house is back on its foundation.
This was actually another one. I think everybody in the chat is familiar with Return to Oz, the Fairuza vehicle.
Oh, I hope so.
Kevin, you have seen this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that was actually a very big point. Was at the beginning of the film, they are building a brand new house. Like Uncle Henry is like fixing up her room and everything. And when she goes back to Oz via that river that inexplicably ends up in the Deadly Desert, she finds her old house and she's like, oh, that was my bedroom. That was the kitchen. That's where we landed on the Wicked Witch. And I was just like, but it's a direct sequel to the 39, like ruby slippers and all. I was like,
but it isn't. And this is where people get confused. The Return to Oz sequel is a sequel to The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. It's not a sequel to the musical. And the only thing that they kept from the musical was the ruby slippers because they didn't want to have to go back and explain that they're silver instead of ruby. They thought it would make it more instantly recognizable. So that was the one thing they paid a licensing fee to include from the 1939 film. And I think it was a mistake because I think what happened was people immediately associated it with the Judy Garland movie. And because it is nothing like the Judy Garland movie in its spirit at all. And because the characters are almost carbon copies of John R. Neal's illustrations. So I think that very much was a confusing mistake made on the part of the filmmakers. That movie is not a sequel to the 39 film.
Right. Okay. But it got people watching it, though, to make people believe that it was a sequel, though.
And to horrify an entire generation.
Oh my gosh. Yep. I came into that movie very late in life, but the Wheelers still get me. Oh.
There should be more terrifying children's movies. I am going to make that bold state. Hot take. I think there should be more of them. The last one I saw was this movie called A House with a Clock in Its Walls. I think we actually talked about it a few episodes
was that the one with Jack Black?
Yes. And I worked at a certain movie theater when it was out, and I got complaints from parents saying that the movie was too scary. They thought it was a PG movie, and it was PG, but they were like, oh, this is too scary. My kid was
1980s PG. You know what else was PG? Indiana Jones, baby.
Yep. Jaws. Come on.
And I was like, yes, terrify the children.
Fear is a very important thing to teach.
I'm less afraid of these. My daughter is fazed by nothing.
I love that. Nothing. I have a niece whose her favorite movie, Saw.
Oh,
what? She's 11.
I'm not ready yet for straight up horror movies to expose my 8-year-old to, but
yeah, no.
Return to Oz and Labyrinth are two of her favorite movies.
And those are arguably horrifying.
Yeah, they need to make more movies like that. Like,
oh God,
like House of the Clock in Its Walls was an anomaly. It was like, parents were like complaining about it, but like if there were more movies like that, they probably wouldn't.
That was actually something we talked about, I believe, on episode 2 of our podcast. Margaret Hamilton's appearance on Sesame Street, which
that's what we were talking about. Yes,
that was it. Watching it, I was just happy to see Margaret Hamilton. I was like, this is great. It's her character, the voice we all know and love. But I'm watching and I was like, what about this is so terrifying that these kids are like writing letters in? And I was like, I just could not wrap my mind around it.
I still don't believe that it was the actual children writing those letters. It was the
There were some children. There were also lots of parents. And the reason why I think it was so shocking was because up until then, Sesame Street had virtually zero conflict in its content, like zero. It was a fully safe space. And the characters of Sesame Street were always supported, always safe. All the grown-ups were always in control of everything. Everybody was good. And then all of a sudden, there is a villain on Sesame Street threatening to do bodily harm to people. And you just don't expect it. Even watching it now, Margaret Hamilton pulled no punches with that performance. She didn't soften the cackle or act less mean or, give people personal space. She was up in people's faces, making threats. And obviously, as adults, we're laughing. We know it's Margaret Hamilton. We're excited to see her. We're excited to see this content at all because it was lost for so many years. But from a little kid's perspective, who up until then had not had any conflict on Sesame Street, that must have been a jarring episode.
I never really thought. I mean, obviously, it's hard to get my mind back into age 2 when I was watching Sesame Street. I think that would have probably scared. When we think about what terrified us as kids, it's always really silly stuff. I was terrified when I watched The Wizard of Oz. I love the movie, but I would always tell my mom let me know when the witch is melting because I don't want to be on screen to hear her screaming in pain and dying in front of my eyes. And everybody else was saying, oh, the monkeys terrified me. I was like, no. I'm literally watching somebody die on screen. That's the part that's going to get me. But my friend Lauren was terrified of the apple trees, and I make fun of her for it.
I was never frightened by anything in the film, so this is not something I can relate to. The movie I always found enchanting and delightful, and I never remember being scared of it. So I can't relate to people who are like, oh, the witch or the monkeys or whatever. But
I don't think I was either. I might have been afraid of the monkeys. Maybe. I'm not
the
sure.
makeup's just creepy. The makeup's
creepy. Yeah. But it works. It works so well.
And I was fooled thinking that the lead monkey, Nico, was a real monkey up until, later in my childhood. But then, of course, started doing research. And Pat Walsh, who played the lead monkey, was somebody who actually studied real monkeys in real life and was Hollywood's go-to monkey guy if they needed a monkey on screen. Swear to God, this was his specialty.
That's awesome.
He was that was his shtick. He was ready to go.
So he was like the Andy Serkis of those days.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, that is actually really cool.
Security.
That is good point. If you can do something better than somebody else, you'll have a job for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that is so. Wow. But I mean, I can't speak. I'm flustered. Watching his movements and performance, I was just it's a monkey, but he looks like a human. I was torn. It was because he's already got wings. That's not a monkey. I was confused as to what type of creature this was. So I was just oh, it's a flying monkey. It's its own species. And I just was oh yeah, they're the size of a human. I was oh gosh. And that was actually this bugged me. I saw The Wizard of Oz at Madison Square Garden for my 5th birthday. And I saw it with Roseanne Barr.
Oh,
terrified me. Oh,
I'm sorry you misheard the kit and that you saw Roseanne Barr.
Here's the thing.
But this was before she went completely crazy though. So
yeah, but here's the thing. My parents took me on my actual birthday. They're it's running for a couple of days. We'll take him on his actual birthday so it's more special. And she absolutely terrified me because I'm scared of the witch, obviously. But in the middle of a deadly silent theater, she's bring me that girl and her dog and do something witchy too. And then the monkey does a little backflip. Dead silent theater. I scream, get me out of here. And my mom had to cover my mouth. Everybody starts laughing. It's not a funny moment. I just ruined her take. And it was, oh gosh. But the one thing that absolutely I still remember that. I don't remember much from when I was age 5. Madison Square Garden, Yellow Brick Road, the aisle is decorated like the Yellow Brick Road leading up to the theater. I'm in heaven. There is an actor there portraying a munchkin who I believe is a legitimate little person posing for photos, and I'm socially anxious. My father telling me, go up to that stranger and take a photo with them. I scream. I was and now I always think of how I behaved in the past, and I was just that person totally thinks I was terrified of them because they were a little person. I'm a terrible person. I need to find them and write them an apology letter. I was just oh God, it's one of those cringy things that you think about and you don't let go of, and it's haunted me for 20 years.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry you had that experience, but that production I think is one of the best that we've had. And Madison Square Garden hosted The Wizard of Oz again when the North American tour came around, and it was, of course, a different production and a different cast. But I had the privilege of going to see that and went in a Dorothy costume. I was in college at the time.
Oh.
And my then boyfriend, now ex-husband, and I were waiting at the concession stand at intermission. And a little girl pulls on my skirt and goes, my mommy wants us to take a picture together. And I look over and the mom's got her camera out ready to go. And I take a picture with this little girl. And then another mom taps me on the shoulder and goes, would you mind? And I was like, oh, sure. And then I take a quick picture. And then I turn around and there's a line forming around the concession stand. And the security guards are going, line up to see Dorothy. And they're laughing. And I was like,
Oh, no.
fuck. So I spent the entire intermission taking pictures with random little girls. There are photos of me somewhere of this. And they flash the lights. It's time to go back in. And some mom goes, or are you going to be here after the show? And it's like, I don't actually work here. And she's like, well, can you be here anyway? And I was like, can you be here anyway?
Don't demand my time like that. Oh my goodness.
You bet your butt I did go back and take pictures with more children.
That is incredible.
This is like
The
Disney
security
and
guards at
Universal
Madison
don't
Square
allow-
Garden were like, you should start charging. I was like, no, it's all good.
No. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my
That is
God.
actually, Kevin makes an excellent point. I assume by the ears you've been to one of the Disney parks, correct?
Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
Disney and
a few
Universal doesn't
times.
allow
Just a fair
costumes.
few times.
So I actually have a friend of mine. Her name is Mandy, lovely girl. She actually created somewhat of a name for herself amongst the Disney community as the Pin Girl. She wore like a knee-length dress covered in like Disney trading pins.
Ooh.
So like I first met her, I thought she was like a Disney character, and I was like, oh my God, can I get a picture with you? And she's like horrified. She's like, no. If you take a photo with me, security is going to ask me to take my dress off or to change into another outfit. Sorry, that was weird. But like I was thinking, like the security guards they're saying line up to see Dorothy. I was like, you should be getting paid for this. Like, did you even get something to eat or drink? Did you get to go to the restroom?
No, but it was such a good time and such a fun story. You can't really be mad about it. All these years later, I still remember those little girls and how excited they were.
Oh, that is
And
sweet though.
it was a blast. I wouldn't change it for the world. It was so fun. But
Aw.
I also had the privilege of getting to speak to Jessica Grove, who was the Dorothy that you saw at Madison Square Garden. I interviewed her last year along with my friend Ryan J of Ryan J Reviews for his show. And she is just as delightful as you would imagine she is. She's such a talent. She's gone on, of course, to be a prolific Broadway star.
Yes.
And she reprised her role in her 30s in Philadelphia last summer. And so we got to talk to her and have a long conversation about her run. She actually still has her original ruby slippers from that show.
Oh.
Roseanne Barr signed them. She was talking so fondly about her time in that show. And she was, she was 16 years old, same age as Judy Garland. And it made her career. So, I cried. I legit cried. As soon as she hung up, I burst into tears. I was like,
You know what?
So
I
moved.
do not blame you at all. I gotta see if I found this thing. Where are you, my pretty? Oh gosh.
if you're
I
pulling out
have-
that book, I have it too in the basement. The
Could I possibly be surprised that you have something Oz related, dearie? Please. Where are
I know
you?
you're pulling up the program. The program.
Programs.
There it is.
I-
There it is.
Worn to tissue paper from how many times I thumbed through these photos. I mean,
But you have I have the one with Eartha Kitt on the cover with Mickey Rooney. Boom.
ladies and gentlemen,
Roseanne.
there they are.
Love
This
those
was
designs.
oh god. I also had a popcorn bucket that I kept for because it had the Wizard of Oz on it. I'm not gonna throw that out, but then
And I'm
it
sure
just
your parents paid a good chunk of your college education money on that bucket.
oh my goodness. Let's talk about
Wait, what is it? What is the popcorn bucket? Like,
it
what's
was
it
literally just a plain white plastic bucket with the logo from the show on
Oh.
it. Like it was nothing special, but like it was literally just this on a bucket. And I kept it for 100 years, but like the logo finally wore off, so I said my goodbyes and threw it out. But I think it was something embarrassing, like $25 for 1997. That was a
That's
lot of money.
crazy.
That was oh god, I miss.
Wow.
And then like this is like I could go on like this, but the concept of like filming shows and bootlegging shows, obviously illegal, but it is one of the only ways that some of these shows get preserved. Like, I mean, you have very grainy photos taken on like a 1997 video camera of this Madison Square production, but it's like a magical time capsule that for some reason Like, we're only just now getting pro shots of Broadway shows like Hamilton, Waitress, and stuff. And I was just like, why has it taken this long? Because they are so adamant you cannot record the show, but it's then you don't make any record of it other than the cast album. And it just, like, I always feel guilty. It's like these people show up, they do such hard work, and then there's no record of it. So
yeah, there are fan shots of that show on YouTube available if you'd like to see them. So I would encourage, since it's not going to harm anyone financially at this point, I would encourage you to go look them up. They are definitely still worth watching. Mickey Rooney as the wizard. I mean, talk about time capsule. And he was somebody who was so intimately involved in Judy Garland's life. I think it was such genius casting on their part to include him in that role.
That was another one. I know we did talk about, Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Andrew Lolo Baloney.
Oh gosh. Michael Crawford is like Frank Morgan's parts. What do we think about that? I thought that was kind of cute though.
He's always cute. He's a very talented man, but Frank Morgan was so unique and was so good for that role. And when you think about the other people they considered to play the role of the wizard, we're so lucky we got Frank Morgan.
Absolutely.
His performance was very good. I liked Michael Crawford. My issue was not with any particular performer. I thought everybody did the absolute best they could. My issue was with Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, thinking he could add songs. That original score, and that his songs stuck out like a sore thumb.
Oh my gosh, I remember
nobody
understands me.
Nobody understands me. Oh my God, Tori, it
made me hate Dorothy, and I was like, "What on earth is going on?" She's so whiny and like entitled, and I was like, "This isn't the character I know. What's going?"
And not only that, but I really do feel like Andrew Lloyd Webber missed the general point. The Scarecrow actually did come off as stupid. The Tin Man is cold. The Lion is coward. They totally missed the message that the things you need are inside, because the characters were just not done properly. And there were some things about it that I liked. I liked the Red Shoes Blues. I always love giving the witch a song. And but some of the design choices and some of the characterizations were baffling to me. And to me, it just demonstrated he didn't understand the material. So that's a in my book.
Oh my gosh. Miss Tori, I think we've been talking about this for like close to an hour now.
So make sure you get that slime tutorial in. Make sure you watch that slime tutorial.
Gosh. That is
a slime tutorial.
But Tori, I want to say thank you so much for jumping on with us. Like we could go on for days about this.
I could honestly just sit here and chat with you guys about this for the rest of the evening, because it is my favorite thing to talk about.
Honey, let me tell you, you are welcome back anytime. Please reach out if you want to join us once again.
Ask your listeners, do you guys want a part 2? Because I want a part 2.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. We'll hammer out the details. But for now, we gotta actually get back to the real world, sadly. So time to click your heels together.
Click your heels 3 times.
I beat you to it.
But why did you tell me to do that in the first place?
Oh my gosh, that Mad TV sketch cemented my childhood. Oh,
I know. Anyway, and I know why she didn't. I know it's because they were 2 different characters in the book.
They were. That's correct.
Again, more stuff we have to talk about next time.
Yeah.
For now, I think we're going to say good morning, because this is a 9 a.m. show. So I hope you have a fantastic day. Ms. Tori, where on social media can our friends follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and most prominently TikTok and YouTube at The Ozvlog.
As you see on the banner below us. You can follow me, Connor, on Twitter at Connor F from LI, or on TikTok at Connor K Fitz 92. Kevin?
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Twitch at It's Kevin O'Lear. And you can follow me on YouTube at Kevo Productions.
There it is. Ms. Tori, thank you again for joining us, and I cannot wait to see you again anytime soon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right. Have a good morning, everybody. We'll see y'all next time. Goodbye. This is... Goodbye.
Goodbye.